Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Johnny's Bite. It's Tuesday. Yesterday it rained, and as usual, the stories remain the same. It appears that we do not learn. That's what it is. It appears that we do not learn. And you know, the conversation about galamseyers, one of my big uncles called me, sent me a message actually. And I won't say who he is because of the victimization culture that we have in this country. He was asking me why we still make a big fat news out of people who die in galamsey pits. Because naturally, they cause us more pain than the pain that they have gone through. The pathologist in the Ashanti region is telling us about the fact that children are now being born, some without limbs, some without ears, and all of those strange features. All because there's galamsey. Now, if somebody or some set of people have caused us so much pain, we're drinking heavy metals and all manner of chemicals, and it's hurting our kidneys and our liver and other organs within our body, and they die. God kills them. Why must it be big news? So he was asking me, and I was thinking, well, that could be a strong point. But just that's by the way this morning. But this morning I've come to remind you of something that happened a few months ago when we were told boldly by the government that we will not go to the IMF. It appears that now the IMF cash is coming. The first tranche is coming this week, we are told. And so everybody seems to have forgotten that there's a fundamental question that must be asked. We are all jubilating. Never mind that we said that we will not go to the IMF, and that anybody who suggests that we should go to the IMF are naysayers. Never mind that we told the people of Ghana that with the imposition of the e-levy, everything will be fine. Never mind that since we've been to the IMF, nobody in government has had the dignity and decency to apologize to the people of Ghana. Because it was even said on the floor of parliament that we won't go to IMF. And that if we go to IMF, it will be the small boys that will be sent to us. All those things were said. Never mind that each time you ask the government why we are the IMF, they give you reasons like COVID and Russia and Ukraine and the opposition. It is never the fault of government that we are the IMF. But let me take you back to 2015, 24th March. The vice president, then candidate, who is now the head of our economic management team, he put on his Twitter page, he said, Mr. Chairman, the IMF bailout was totally avoidable if the government had listened to sound advice from many quarters much earlier. But government refused to listen. Put that up, please. Put that up. Put it up. They believed in their own propaganda and said, Yentiobia, we won't listen to anyone. When government was cautioned about the scale of borrowing, the government responded that they would borrow more. Now that their propaganda has been exposed by economic reality, they are now forced to listen to the IMF. We have moved from Yentiobia to Yebetie IMF in Kwa. We will listen to IMF only. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, IMF bailout. Will the anchor hold? Distinguished Speaker series, right? And this was on the 24th of March, 2015. This morning I'm asking, on the back of this one, there was another when the NDC had taken Ghana to the IMF. The same Dr. Bawumia, he spoke to a journalist. Listen to him.
This is why we got into the IMF. You were spending too much relative to revenues, which is true. You were borrowing too much, which is true. Your external payments position has deteriorated, which is true. And so you ended up, your growth is reducing, which is true. So you ended up at the IMF. And the IMF would impose certain conditions, which is true. And if you don't do certain things right, the anchor will not hold, which is true. So I'm not quite sure what it is that is not true that I said. But I think, unfortunately, the supporters of this government and this government itself are very reluctant to admit the truth, even when it hits them in the face. Yeah.
True. Thank you, Bob.
That was the vice president, or candidate then, now vice president. You see the things he listed. He spoke about the government of the day then. And I'm saying up until now, not the vice president, not the finance minister, not the president, none of the party communicators, not anybody at the finance ministry, none of the members of the economic management team has had the dignity to apologize to us. Now, somebody would say that, oh, the government has admitted that we are in a certain hole. Agreed. Even that it took time before the government agreed that we were in a certain hole. But admitting that we are in a hole and not admitting that you are part of the problem is in itself a problem, because you don't see the problem to be able to fix the problem. That was Vice President Bawumia in opposition. With the benefit of power, what did he say? Listen.
Note that Ghana has been hit with a quadruple whammy. A quadruple whammy. The energy sector excess capacity payments, banking sector cleanup, COVID-19, and the Russia-Ukraine war. We have been hit by this quadruple whammy. And I say again that if you take out the fiscal impact of this quadruple whammy, Ghana will not be going to the IMF for support, because our fiscal and debt and balance of payments outlook would be sustainable. Of the four factors, COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war were external, and the other two, the banking sector cleanup and the excess capacity payments, were the result of policies of the previous government.
So again, we're blaming the previous government. Even when we have the power, we're now behaving as opposition, even in government. But this morning, the fundamental question I'm asking is, must Ken still go? Remember the MPs in Parliament who said that we were not running a monarchy or a dynasty, and that we're trying to build a democracy. You remember them? You remember the MPP MPs who had a press conference led by lawyer Pia Kubi, one of my good uncles, who had mentioned that they had gone to their constituents, including you and I, and we had told them that we were tired of Ken Ofori-Atta and Charles Edubuahin, and that they must go, or they will not participate in the budget reading and hearing and debate. Put the super up. Must Ken still go? Put it up there so we can see. Must Ken still go? Now, after they said that, there was some deal that was run. The president asked them that, oh, they need to wait. And that, well, at some point, when Mr. Ofori-Atta is done with the IMF deal, he will go. This week, we are told that the money will come in. But the question is, must Ken still go? This was the deal. Listen.
He came, he explained, and he said the board-level agreement was going to be achieved in March. So we are still waiting, because if anything should happen today, I'm sure the president will come and say, look, he's still dealing with the IMF, so bear with us. So we are waiting for him to deal with the IMF, get the IMF thing out of the way, get the board approval, and then see what will happen. We are not saying to the president that by all means remove him. All we are saying is we are making an appeal to the president that all is not well. And there's a tree saying that Bema Behabi, no I'm eating to wait. He's done his bit for his country, and the time has come for him to step aside based on his own pronouncements and his own performance at the ministry. That's what we are saying. If the president is an executive presidency, if the president thinks that, look, there's nothing wrong with him, he can carry on, that's fine.
And you see, I like Honorable Eugene of Subin, as I like to call him. And now all the others who were bold enough to come, I mean, this is representing us, not representing party interests. And I hope that they have not moved away from representing all of us and going back to representing party. That's why I'm asking, must Ken still go? And I told you something, that if your members of parliament who came to tell all of us that they have consulted all of us and that we said Mr. Ofori-Atta and Dr. Charles Edouboahin should go, and Charles Edouboahin has been sacked, but Ken Ofori-Atta is as post, because Charles Edouboahin is not a family and friend, but Ken Ofori-Atta is family, you must ask your MP questions. And as you get ready for the primaries, you must show them where power lies, Kokromoti power. So what they said on your behalf, they must do. Now, there's one gentleman who also wants to become president. He met the MPP caucus abroad. Listen to him.
Trust me, you're sitting here and you're smiling. IMF, what are we going to say again? Somebody tested me, don't say anything about IMF. Me, I shouldn't say anything about IMF. I will say it. I will say it. You know, going into IMF is just like handing over power to NDC without a contest. Straight away. Because the noise we make, and I chew my own words back.
Well, the noise we made, he chews his own word back, and he says that the same people who took us to IMF cannot be the same people who are taking us out of the IMF. That anybody who takes us to the IMF, it means we have failed. You see how we struggled to even meet the criteria for failure. We had to sweat it out to meet the criteria to even fail, because now that we are the IMF, it is by the government's appointees and the assigns of the party and people who are sympathetic towards the government, by their own words, we have failed. And if indeed we have failed, and it took us so much time and stress to even beg diplomats to fail, then we have a problem. And that is why it is still surprising that the government has not admitted just a tiny weeny bit that, oh, as for this one, we caused it. The government has not done that. They have always blamed COVID and Russia and Ukraine and the opposition and critical media. At some point, we're even told to stop talking down at our money because he can't pay the day. But now, the president has to prove that he's a man of his own words. Because now we have the IMF deal, give or take. That's what we are told, and that money will come. The first part of the money will come. Will the president stick to his promise to the MPs who went to him on the ticket of the members of their constituencies? That meeting at Alisa Hotel, we are aware. So we are asking the question this morning, will President Akufo-Addo let Ken go? Must Ken still go? Listen to Professor Bodijima. Listen to him.
Papa, you know Papa. As hard as
going to the IMF with bailout itself is confirmation that we have failed to make progress. We were going to make progress towards Ghana without beyond aid. We are on the verge of bankruptcy. We are going for a bailout. That doesn't spell progress. It spells failure or retrogression.
okay. And of course, when he puts his fangs into you, you certainly feel it. I think it's too much.